Hello and welcome to. Oh, that was perfect timing for Eonlake. He just came in. We don't even know if his settings are right. They're probably wrong. He'll have to come back if they're wrong. But hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 153. This is the Independent Musician's Guide to Production and Promotion. And this week we're talking about a pretty cool Kickstarter. We always like bringing attention to these sorts of things. And, we love gear over here. And then in the round robin, we're going to talk. Well, Curtis, how would you describe this round robin? I know we're talking Serum, but what is the approach? Because it's a slightly different approach to this.
It's more about where we prioritize our capital investment of our studios.
Ah, okay. All right. So Serum is the genesis of the idea.
Catalyst.
Yeah, exactly. But there is an update to Serum, so we'll briefly talk about that anyways. Thanks for joining us today. I want to say hi to Sleeping State, who's in the chat. Mentioned Serum 2 does look fun. The resampling in the box and spectral stuff sounds great for percussion and one hits or one shots. It won't be replacing Faceplant. Shocker there. And then Smiling Air says, let's go. Yes, we are live. Sorry, we were slightly delayed. We were discussing some back-end things because it's been a minute since we could meet. And then we were trying to see if Eonlake's all good, and he's there. Little Bro is also in the chat. Hey, what's going on? Eonlake, how's your audio?
I was just making you wait for that. I think it's okay. I'm assuming.
Yeah, it sounds all right. It sounds good. It sounds perfect. Baritone as usual. What's going on, man?
Oh, man. No matter how many times you set this stuff up, it's my fault, I guess, for leaving Ableton open all the time with something in it. But there seems to be a maximum number of days you can do that without it causing a kernel panic and make your system restart.
But, you just kind of leave it on. You just kind of leave your Mac on all the time.
It's not a Windows machine. It doesn't need to be restarted or anything. It shouldn't need to because it's Unix based, but more often than not, things do get a little bit squirrely after a while.
Okay, I need to.
Yeah, I turn mine on and off like every day, but I get it.
But I did it this morning. I set it all up, and it crashed this afternoon.
Maybe you do need to turn it off. Maybe that's a sign. Turn it off. Give it a rest, man. Let it have some sleep. It's just churning and working nonstop. That's so cruel.
Maybe once the punishment period's over.
Yeah, well, how are you besides having the usual technical difficulties?
Well, I don't know how I might have been otherwise. I'm grumpy now.
Well, you're always grumpy. That's just the usual.
No, but I'm justified in grumpy now.
I don't know. According to Smiling Ears, it's your own fault. He's saying all computers need rebooting to avoid accumulated runtime errors, so you bring it upon yourself.
I mean, we're all the cause of our own misery, really, aren't we?
Yeah, it's our own opinions on the things we experience.
Something like that at a time like this. I will deny it.
Yeah, of course you will. Of course you will. That's the best course of action. Well, it's great to see you. Sorry, I was out last week.
Good to have you back. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I had some stuff to deal with, and then the time change and all that. It's just crazy. But we're all together today. It's awesome. And also with me today is Curtis. What's going on?
All right, mate. Yeah, it's been a minute. Haven't seen you for about 2 weeks, have we?
Yeah.
Truly is a 4D experience with everyone kind of coming back into the world at the same time. There's no backstage meetings and there's no kind of planning times. No, I'm good. Busy. Mental March continues to run. We're over the hump, but we're getting there. But it's nice. I've in the wake of spending a lot of time engineering and spending a lot of time doing like production stuff out in the real world. I've come back to, and obviously growing the rig, I've just come back to a keyboard, a mouse, and a screen, and just like old end point and clicks and stuff like that. So swinging the other way, as they say.
Yeah, sometimes you got to let the pendulum go one way then the other, and then you'll get back in the middle,
Exactly. Somehow, some balancing, trying to get through and trying to come back to this notion of an album which is there but still kind of murky. But we're getting there slowly but surely. How about yourself, bro?
I'm tired, man, but I'm all right. I'm doing all right. Learning some new gear, working on some old gear. I actually started doing this rebuild because I figured out the way I want to do it is just keep it simple. I want just a synth station where everything's controlled by the Digitact, and I can just have all of the MIDI. So I started getting everything synced up, even the P6, and I'm hoping I can get the Volca FM so I can have like keys, and then everything's going to go in there. And then if I need to record and stuff, I'm going to send it to the tracker because I want to keep the SP separate. I want it to be my little like everywhere machine or whatever. So yeah, but yeah, slowly. So because I had this whole idea of this big grandiose setup and stuff, but I'm not feeling those big setups anymore. So I just want like a sample station that's a gazillion synths with the bus effects. That's just there if I ever want it, but I don't necessarily need it. It's just there, and then when I do need it, I can turn it on and do it. But otherwise, I've been sticking with just like 1 or 2 machines on this desk, and yeah.
I think that's fair though. I think again, we ebb and flow in different directions. Like my rig's particularly big for a particular reason, but I found myself in a similar fashion to you. The SP has always is increasingly kind of setting to one side, and it's kind of just sitting there as a little box that I can kind of break out into, as opposed to being part of the overall machine.
It's nice at the end of it, like it's awesome, and it can still be because I can still just send everything through to it, and sample. But I like having it where I can just kind of put it where it needs to be. It's a jack of all trades, so it's like if I want it in standalone, it's on the desk. If I need to connect this, I can just put some cables into it, and like I like that idea. But I find, I don't know, I've found lately like it's similar to my reaction to DAW or to the DAW workflow where it's like there's all that plugins and stuff that you can use, and I just started being like, well, let me use some hardware. And then as I got more hardware and started setting up more and more, I'm like, well, let me just use one piece of gear, like, so it's all reactionary, I guess. But I kind of want to, I like having, it's similar to like the stock plugins argument I always give. Like I like knowing something really well and just trying to make that work when I have an idea, rather than being like, oh, well, I could get this and I could get that, and doing all that.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's all, again, ebbs and flows and
solos
mostly, and you just kind of keep it going in that regard. How are you gearing up for your live show at Eonlake?
How am I? Being a bit.
I'm gonna guess he's gonna say not.
No, I'm in pretty good shape. I'm being a bit greedy about the stuff I want to shoehorn in at the moment. I think
like what.
I'm going to do the usual thing of planning a set that's too long and then have to figure out how to make it shorter again.
That's great. It's better than the other way.
Which seems to be my way of working. So, I'm going to go with that. That doesn't seem stupid at all, does it?
Nope. Seems like the best way to do it.
It's like a good way of doing it, yeah.
Just like blame your computer for keeping it on all the time.
It's a different computer, but anyway. That one
I hope that one gets some rest.
Yeah, I'm nice to my laptop.
There you go.
There we go. For those who haven't been keeping up in the Discord, Eonlake has a live show coming out on the 18th, which is the Easter weekend. Which 19th. Sorry, the 18th is the day before. Obviously, that's the
Friday. Yeah.
Really, 18th comes before the 19th.
Funny that.
I wouldn't have guessed
that. No. I don't count too well, So yeah, 19th, Easter weekend, Easter Saturday, and we have put the link to the tickets. It's in London if you want to go check it out. Yeah,
you're going, right, Curtis? I think I saw on the Discord you said bought my tickets.
Yeah, I bought a flight. I'm coming over into Luton, and I'll quickly be running away from Luton as quick as possible. But yeah, gonna go down. I'll be there. I'm going to be a bit of a roadie, aren't I? So that gives Eonlake license to bring more gear, which I'm not sure if I'm enabling him or not, but we'll have to see.
I may still hold back, but that obviously does make it an historic event because it means that Curtis and I will meet in the real world.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. I've been waiting 5 years. I just saw Sunwarper in July, and then suddenly I'm going to see Eonlake's links. I'm not sure I'm ready for it, to be honest.
In 1 year. Mad,
yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. I do also really quickly want to say hello to our patron, Mike. What's going on? Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Eonlake, what sort of, are you going to use the same setup gear-wise that you did for your previous live sets, or are you changing it up?
No. What would be the fun in that? No, it's going to be similar. I don't know. I'd kind of like to take the mixer, but I may not. I may just use the SP to bring everything in. I do kind of want to have the SP1 with me.
The S1?
S1.
Sorry, S1. Sorry. Yes.
I was like, is there an SP1 I don't know about?
Yeah,
I gotta get it.
My numbers mixed up, but yeah, there's some parts that I've written for some of the newer stuff that I want to play on that are fun to mess around with, and yeah, there'll be a couple of changes about the way that I arranged the set in Ableton so that I can play things in between more easily, and
Nice.
might be A/B crossfading a bit so that I can stagger things. And
So I forget, is the majority of it push based? Are you using push?
yes, I do use push because it's just so much control in one place. I don't want to be in front of me. It's over to the side. I try not to look at it at all, and I just use push to control everything, to mix it, to mess around with effects and whatnot, and yeah, queue up vignettes and things like that. So
nice.
Yeah, and last time I had my Micro Freak there, but I had the push was kind of on top of it, so that I could play it on the push, but use its filters, resonance, and everything, and envelopes. So I was just covering up the keyboard part of it.
Ah, okay, all right.
Just to save a bit of space, because
it makes sense. It takes up a lot of real estate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's lots of things I want to take. I'd quite like to take the Chaos Pad as well, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, didn't Korg make one of those like NTS Chaos Pads, like the NTS1? The little synth that you build. I think they made a. I think it's the NTS3. Hold on.
I think it was recent as well.
Yeah, I swear I saw it at NAMM one of these years. Yeah, NTS3 Chaos Pad kit, $170.
That looks like fun.
Sorry, I don't mean to. I'm sure you're gonna buy it now, but next week it'll be. I got an NTS3.
Well, I'm currently trying to not buy a Moog Labyrinth.
Are you succeeding?
The next week when you get it, let us know how you find it.
We'll do a demo coming in the next couple of weeks. That'd be great. Mike Smith wants to know: will it be an up-tempo set or more of a laid-back ambient set?
It's going to be up tempo. This one, yeah,
up tempo. Oh, that's what we like.
Also, want to mention Smiling Airs is actually trying to move some stuff around to get to the gig, so that could be a really cool meeting of the minds.
No pressure. It would, of course, be fantastic to meet.
Yeah. Before we move over to the gear that we're covering, which I'm actually really intrigued by this one, Curtis will let us know about it. But one other thing in the name of gear, Smiling Air says, I'm gearing up for a new synth, really into Erica synth steam pipe. So yeah, it's like everyone's looking into some new things and stuff. So yeah.
Erica synth echo locator. I want one of those, but it's 500 quid.
So just get that, the Moog. The NTS3, it's all good.
You'll have it next week. It's fine. Yeah.
Rates and I'll be there.
You don't need a new computer. You can just keep riding that one without sleep, so might as well get some new gear.
But it's the best way to get rid of computer problems. Just remove all computers and just go fully.
Exactly. DAWless is all the way, right? But then you can't use Ableton, so Mike would be very upset if you went to that. So I don't know. Anyways,
it's a great mixer. I will say this, right? It's a really good mixer. Even if you're not sequencing with it,
Well, speaking of gear, Curtis, you brought this one to the table, but before I throw it over to you, I just also want to say hello to another one of our patrons, Abby, in the chat. What is going on? Hope you're doing well. Great to see you. Mike says, Doffel all the way. Yeah, it is quite Doffel. Awful to be Doffel, no.
Wow.
Just kidding. Yeah, I was using the DAW yesterday to make some music, so got to use whatever you can when you can. Anyways, Curtis, what gear in the hardware world, the real world, have you brought to the table today?
Well, a fun little Kickstarter. Let me just bring up my my notes here so we can see. I'm going to bring up a photo at the same time.
You want me to pull up that YouTube video or no?
Let's do this first. Hang on, give me a second. Let me pull the image up first, and then I'll go back to the YouTube video because there is a little sound demo, but I want you guys to have a look at what it is before we get anywhere. Because it's a cool, fun funky little thing that looks like straight out something like Zves or something like that.
I do like a Kickstarter.
Yeah, gotta love a good Kickstarter.
Get some odd stuff. That's Chompy was a Kickstarter originally.
Yeah, we were just talking about that beforehand.
It's a shame it turned out to be quite so expensive, really, in the end. But
yeah, well, this is
and then the looper from the SP can do that Chompy style play rate change.
Well, this is coming in for 350 USD. This is the Doppler, which is a really cool name. Anything with a "the" in front of it is really good. It's a polyphonic 2-operator FM desktop synth designed for deep sound exploration. It's 8-note polyphony, and one of its UPSs, one of its unique selling points is it's incredibly sensitive to touch, in the sense that you can move knobs just a tiny little bit and it will give you supposedly a massive change in the synthesis sound that you're going for, which obviously is a double-edged sword, but I think the idea is it comes to the notions of happy accidents and gives you a serendipitous approach to music production, which is really nice. It's got a single powerful FM algorithm. It's got 2 rotary switches, which allows for control of modulation, including frequency, 5-octave range, 12 semitone quantization. It's got ADSR, obviously, and has an envelope mod toggle, which allows for modulation of both the wave itself and modulation depth. It is completely connectable by USB-C. And it can be used with a MIDI controller as well, should that be what you want to go for. It's got tap tempo delay, internal clock syncing, stereo reverb. Yeah, and it's a beautiful little box. And it
looks like a guitar pedal.
It does.
Right?
I keep seeing it, just thinking that's an effects, like that's I don't think I have any guitar pedals on my desk, but yeah, they're way back there. But yeah, I'm like, that's a guitar pedal, and then I'm like, no, that's a synth, actually. Crazy.
Yeah,
how much?
Right?
Come on, how much?
349 USD.
Wow, it's cheaper than I thought it would be.
Floored Eonlake. Look at that.
Look at that. Well, yeah, and it sounds pretty amazing. Now, let me share this instead.
Here,
this comes straight
this.
from if it comes straight from the YouTube itself. Love to get a demo on this. Would love to play around with this. It looks like a lot of fun. But let's just have a little bit. I've just gone to a random part in this. This is what it can do in terms of the sound.
Built into the Doppler are 2 effects, a tap tempo. Getting up and running with the Doppler.
Oh, I like that sound.
That's lovely.
That's for me.
So seen Mike's comment. Do a couple more.
This is really good sounding.
Really
I like that. Yeah.
Seems to be lending itself to lo-fi, doesn't it?
Yeah, lo-fi or that like IDM, the Boards of Canada style IDM.
Yeah. Let's do this before we get copyright struck. That is it. It's a little desktop synth. As you can see, it's about the size of a guitar pedal, which is lovely for real estate. If we're talking about portable rigs and playing live, that's a pretty nice piece of real estate right there.
Yeah. I do find Mike's comment about not the operator one. We'll get to that in a minute, but tiny movements in the FM world equals chaos. That's true, but it seems like the user in this video was making somewhat drastic sweeps and things, and it wasn't chaotic, but he was doing more, or they were doing more semitone and filter, so more controlled things. But yeah, the sounds that they were getting from that are crazy.
And not bad at all. I think in a world where screens dominate, And even in a lot of boxes and desktop synths, you've got some
Yeah,
form of
screens.
LED display.
Mhm.
This is completely by ear. And I'm on a trip about like ear training right now, and ear kind of going by ear as opposed to kind of going by sight and stuff like that. And it seems to be a really nice kind of way to look at that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've been really digging gear that doesn't have screens right now, or things where you can get a screen like with the phone app or something and then have it separate. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to try and just use your ears, you know.
Completely. I mean, we may have even sold Mike, but before we do, Eonlake, what you
It did sound rather nice.
Stop the press. Mike Smith is impressed by some hardware.
My immediate impressions are it's a bit cheaper than I thought it would be.
Cool.
I like the way it looks, and I like the concept of what they're doing with it. I thought the sounds would be madder, and the fact that they're not isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, you know, as Mike alludes to, with FM, things can get quite out of control pretty quickly, and also kind of unmanageable. I mean, it's all well and good if you're like in a studio and you can tune in something, and if it sounds good, then record it. But if you want to use it live and so on, it's a brave person that takes something like a Lyra 8 and tries to play live with it, because things can go a bit nuts, you know, and it can be hard to tame. And that seemed to be actually quite user friendly, didn't it? And the sounds that came out were all kind of pretty usable.
You bring up an interesting point, because when I was hearing that, a lot of the stuff I was hearing is of that more analog synth, retro synth ilk in my mind. I mean, you can definitely get sounds like that from FM. Obviously, they are. But yeah, when I think of FM, and maybe this is just because of that's what I gravitate to, but I think of like brass and piano.
Really sharp sounds.
Yeah, brass, piano, you know, those like the I guess I'm just thinking DX7 type of sounds, right? You know?
Is it digital or analog, I suppose, is the question, because that would explain it.
Yeah.
DX7 type stuff's all digital, isn't it?
Yeah, perhaps that's why. But yeah, I mean, I'm not well versed in FM synthesis, so I may be missing something or so, you know, but yeah, it definitely sounded really good. So yeah.
Yeah, I liked everything I heard, definitely, and that's the kind of big. I do like this. It's a pretty little thing. I like the aesthetic. I like the fact it's all self-contained, and you know, to preempt a discussion we'll have later on, in 10 years, it's still going to be a synth.
That's a good point. I do want to just say one thing that popped in my head, Eonlake, when you were talking about. That's a really good point, though. But when you were talking about the sounds we heard, that could also just be what they wanted to showcase, and it can do those other sounds. And we've only heard part of the video. Curtis, you probably watched the whole video, but maybe they wanted to showcase those sounds because it is, you know, unexpected, right, from a thing. But maybe there are more of those sounds we know in there, or that we come to expect when we hear the name FM. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that, you know, who knows? We'd have to like check it out to really know. But I bet I mean, any FM synth can get pretty crazy when you start messing with the operators and all that stuff. So
I'm sure you can persuade it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can get it to be pretty noisy. Curtis, you brought this to the table. What do you think?
I think it's nice. I think for $350, you'd be putting your money not in a massive corporation. Not there's anything wrong like that. You know, like Arturia, Roland, for example, are great. They're also massive corporations. This is a Kickstarter. This is very much by the people, of the people, for the people. And I'm on a trip like that at the moment. For the last 33 years of my existence, at least. But I like how, again, I come back to this notion of there's no screens. Everything's done by ear. And I've been trying to get the kids that I'm working with to trust their ears more, and to think more in terms of how things kind of are heard as opposed to how they see things. And I like how this dives into that a little bit. I like how this kind of creates its space. If as well, it kind of just alludes to everything I'm doing for this gig that I've got on Saturday will go on a pedal board, which is traditionally for my guitar pedals, but now that's just going to be my portable kind of like gig set, you know. And it nudges me further into that notion that I'm doing the right thing in that regard. Because because it does. It just looks beautiful. It sounds beautiful. You could get some lovely drones in that, and even if you, like you say, you can get a lot of stuff that can get chaotic and out of control with FM synthesis. But if you learned how to tame it, and then you could just have it running as kind of a little small little arc or a little synth in the background. Yeah, I can't think of anything. I can't think of any reason why it would hinder you or why there'd be a negative to having this in your arsenal. Unless obviously you're not bothered with FM synthesis. But yeah.
I think it's also good that we always talk to bring up relevant or new low budget or budget friendly, I should say, pieces of gear. And this, for what it offers and for its build and all that type of stuff, $350, that's not bad at all. I think that's really cool. Now, is it out, or do you have to pledge $350 for the Kickstarter?
No, the Kickstarter's already finished.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, 'cause some
go.
of those, it's like you pledge and then if it meets it, you get it. So that's really awesome if that's the case.
I get that. I agree. I think this is where maybe there's some sort of Mandela effect here. I feel like we might have stumbled across these guys before, maybe when the Kickstarter was just beginning. But the fact that they have a Kickstarter which has been successful and has gone through, with many Kickstarters not you put your money down not seeing it, it's good to see that these guys have kind of got their thing. It shows democratically that they've obviously got something that people are interested in.
So I know what you're talking about. We covered something. I don't think it was this though, but when I saw it, I was like, I think we did cover a small. I swear that box was like blue or purple though that we talked about, but we'll have to look.
We'll
have to
the
look.
annals of Audionautic lore.
It's all in that playlist. I keep a playlist on YouTube for the Audionautic Radio or Audionautic Deep Space Network, and then of course we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those podcast places. And if you're listening there, please consider giving a review or leaving a comment if you're able. It does help. We've gotten a lot of new eyes on there. I think there's something with the way Spotify is creating clips now and posting vertical clips and stuff. I just saw it. If you hit search on Spotify, it shows like something new for you, and it's these little vertical clips. They're trying to be YouTube. But yeah, if you found us there, awesome. Welcome. Hope you enjoy it, and thanks for listening. But yeah, shall we move on to the round robin, or is there anything else you want to discuss, Curtis? You brought this, so
just something that Mike brings in. It's actually a valid point. He's saying that it wasn't too long ago we looked at £400 or British pounds for the Ableton Move, and that was too expensive for 4 tracks, a sequencer, ARPs, effects, sampler, etc., etc., etc. But here, I and potentially by extension we saying that $350 for this singular FM synth is not too expensive. And I'm bringing that up not necessarily to delve into it, but just more to perhaps highlight my own hypocrisy than anything else, and to sit on it.
He's calling us out.
Well, hold up.
First
of all, is it hypocrisy if you want a dedicated piece of gear that does a function that's like hardware versus these little groove boxes, where everything's just in the like a computer based or whatever? I don't want to. I can't remember, but I don't recall thinking 400 was too much for Move, because that is a good deal of stuff. And most groove boxes, like the Circuit Tracks, I want to say, is 400 or something around that with way less capabilities. So yeah, I don't recall saying that. So I don't know if Mike is using like the Royal We for groups of the internet or something. Maybe we did say that. I could be wrong, but I don't recall that. I wouldn't say that that's too pricey for that. I mean, the SP404 is 450 or 500. MPC1 can do a lot more though, I guess, but that's like 700 or something like that. So, Mike says, meaning Curtis particularly. There you go. Singled out, man. All right, so maybe it is your hypocrisy, but I don't know. I guess there's a point there, but I think maybe the name Ableton and it being based on just like the software you already own and stuff could be part of the difference for you, Curtis. I don't know. But I think that is a lot there, but that's funny. So we try to deflect and he goes, no, I just meant Curtis. He was
I'll tell you what, Mike.
He raises a fair point.
That cracks me up, man.
So good.
But I think Move is actually a bit cheaper than $399 anyway, isn't it? I got mine now 300, but
you could probably get it used now too.
I've just put in an order for 5, and I think there were 400 each. I believe I put them through for 400 each.
Let's see, on Sweetwater, they're $449.
449. Well, there
Let
you
me
go.
see how much, and this is dollars. Let me see how much Circuit Tracks is.
Yeah.
Circuit Tracks is
Yeah.
400.
Yeah.
But yes, I've got a point on that, but I think I might raise it a little bit later.
Okay, yeah, we should move on because we got to end
Hmm.
in about 20
But
minutes.
I love
so.
the idea of supporting people who want to do crazy stuff like that and this niche boutique.
That's a
thing.
good point though too. This is also a small company that's fundraising, so it makes some sense that the price is
Feels
where it's
clean.
at. But
Feels good.
yeah, it looks really cool though. That is an awesome piece of gear. Thanks for bringing that to the table, Curtis.
No, it's welcome. I'm glad to bring it to the community. Mike, we'll have a conversation after the show.
Curtis is like, "How dare you?"
That's fair. No,
I will say I do actually want to check out the Move more than I'd want to
Yeah.
check out just Ableton. The Move seems really interesting to me.
It does seem fun. But let's move on because we want to get away by at the top of the hour. We'll move across to our community corner for now. And our big news for the week is that we have a new release out on Audionautic Records today. Fields of Few. First Land Encounter, absolutely spellbinding album. We thank Tim so much for allowing us to work together in this notion. If you like ambient, we're dash with a little bit of lo-fi, dash with a little bit of IDM and some grainy experimental stuff. This is very much something worth checking out. It's a concept album of sorts. It depicts the notions of exploring a far distant planetary tropical biome, which is a hell of a mouthful, but it's there. You can see by the track titles. If we just bring this back here: Landing Craft, Beachscape Survey, Grass and Waves, Stillness, Fireflies and Sunset, Return to Essence, Fading Stars of the Southern Sky. It's all a congruent piece of work, and it's filled.
Yeah, when I was mastering it, I just wanted to play No Man's Sky because that's what it made me think of, like landing on a planet, getting out, exploring it, seeing the first bit of ocean that's on there, and like, oh, it's a lush album. But yeah, I just had an image of like landing on a planet, doing all that. But yeah, I highly recommend you check it out. I'm assuming you've got it in the description, Curtis. But yeah, the link will be in the description. And then if you're watching on any podcast, what is it? Podcast platforms? Sorry, everyone, my brain is fried today. But if you're watching on a podcast platform, it will be in the show notes.
Yeah, it's there. It's great. It's out on digital right now. Streamers will go in about a month from now, 4 weeks from now, late April. And we will be doing a small run of physicals. Stay tuned for that one. We're still working out the kinks on that regard. But yeah, thank you, Fields of Few, for trusting us with the release. It's a beautiful album.
Yeah, and he'll be on next week. We'll talk. So if you've got any questions, throw them in the Discord. I have some questions. Also, he does a lot with libraries and sync placements. So I want to ask him a bit about that because that always seems like something just like very difficult to crack. So, and he said he's game to share stuff. So we'll be talking about that type of stuff. But yeah, with that said, this show is brought to you by our patrons who support the show week in and week out. Without them, we would not be able to keep the lights on, so to speak, of all of the different platforms and things that we utilize to do this show live every single week. So massive thanks to the patrons. If you want to become a member, head to patreon.com/Audionautic. The link is also in the description. You get exclusive Discord channels. You get a monthly meet where we hang out, talk gear. Mike and Curtis come to blows about their differences in price points and whatever have you. But Mike said, "Oh, that's a see me after class statement." Yeah. But anyways, we talk all sorts of gear, and typically, we'll discuss if a patron's having an issue with something, switching to a different type of workflow, anything like that. That's where we talk about it. So if you like the hyper-focused nerd talk of all the gear that we discuss, like discussing the FM synth here that we talked about for 30 minutes, and the live sets before that, definitely check out the Patreon. And at the $5 tier, you can also come on the show. I saw last week's episode where some of the chat was talking about phoning in, like calling in, doing call-ins. We do offer that. Like Lars comes on. You don't have to stay on the whole episode. We bring you in the round robin, but yeah, you can come on, or you can even send us a voice message or something. But yeah, we do have to keep it what, PG-13. So
PG-13,
mind your words.
Don't use those awful words we do.
Yeah.
Um,
Eonlake drinking a beer throughout the show.
Hmm. It's my
for-
throat.
A role model for us all.
in the name of role models, just to reiterate and bounce off what Sunwalker is saying, Starstream, the next Starstream is this Sunday. We're going an hour earlier. Wibbly wobbly time is still a thing. And this year, or on this occasion, the Americans have felt the brunt of that. So this month, to balance that out, we will be going an hour earlier here in the EU. So we'll be going from 6 p.m. UTC essentially, as opposed to 7 p.m. UTC, and that'll be on Sunday.
Clarify real quick, it will be normal time for if you're in the US or anywhere that's done the time change already. So 10 a.m. Pacific will be, or 11 a.m. Pacific. Sorry, 11 a.m. Pacific will be Starstream for US based, and then an hour early for those that haven't changed yet.
Completely. Another PSA for the patrons and anyone on the Discord. Actually, to be fair. We have got 2 more weeks of our Lingering Light Remix Challenge heading on the Discord. If you haven't downloaded the stems yet, they are there over in the Discord, the server challenge channel. We are.
You were going to say survey channel, huh?
I was, because he's on my mind. He's on my mind.
Yeah.
Essentially, we are taking the stems from Sunwarper's Lingering Light and remixing them into a challenge. Best remix gets $10 Tom and gift card, all in the name of healthy competition in the community. Come on down. First Wednesday in April is the deadline for that. We're gonna have a party, a listening party, just before we crack the show that week.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone does. It's gonna be interesting. Lots of ways you could take it. Also, little bro in the chat says, amazing topic tonight. Little bro got Ableton, right? Did he switch over to Ableton?
Yeah.
Wonder how that's coming. Little bro, let us know. How's Ableton going? Pretty soon it's going to be the Move, right? Getting the Move, I'm assuming.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not.
Push, just go right along to Push. Anyways, from there, let's talk our round robin. We got a couple minutes left. What have we brought today, Curtis?
Well, for those who've been following along, Serum 2 was released, which everyone who uses Serum 2 has gone absolutely, how do I put this nicely, crazy for. And it's been a decade in the making, and it's a very powerful upgrade, as Sleeping State said. It's a very powerful upgrade. And it's got me thinking. It is a fantastic synth that does a lot of things, and it's $180, $190, $189.99. I think I have to double check me on that, but it's getting around for that nearly $200 mark. And there are other alternatives. There's Phase Plant. There's stock Ableton stock oscillator plugins in FL and in Ableton, Logic, wherever you go, and also Vital, which is completely free, right? But it is still one of the most widely used soft synths in its niche.
Just real quick, $189 for an intro price. It's normally $250. Free upgrade if you are an existing owner.
Okay, so $250 now, right? So
$189 right now, but yeah, $250 whenever the intro price ends.
Yeah,
First June.
So it's going to go up to $250. I think it's been $190 for as long as Serum, like the original. Serum,
interesting.
It's been $190.
Okay. Not an intro price. It's a ending.
It's a normal price.
Yeah, it's a normal price that's going to be up. Yeah, I got you.
All right, so this it's still one of the most widely used wavetable synths in our niche, and there's obviously a reason for that. So you can call that marketing, or you could call it the fact that there's just a community around it, so many presets, or people just love it, right? But it leads to the question, right? In our studios, in our realm of music production, where is it that you are unwilling to compromise when it comes to investing in your sound, your workflow, your project, whatever it is? Where is an area where all the money is a good thing to drop 100% of the time? Where will you never skimp, and where is a good place for you? If you are going to spend top dollar on something, where would you spend it? In short,
That's a good question.
I know. I'm gonna.
I feel like Eonlake would have heavy or high opinions about this topic.
Well, to spare everybody
go.
from watching it, 3 people nodding slowly, which doesn't make for great radio. I'm inclined to say the H word, really. Hardware or actual, instruments themselves, like guitars, basses, whatever. Because of the longevity of the thing, right? Our lives are moving very much from ownership towards rental in every aspect, really. In this post, let's not get
Web
into that.
3.0.
Yeah, well, no, it's I think it's just a natural part of life that this is the way things are going. Everything seems to be turning into a subscription, and we've old manned a little bit about that in the past.
But becoming serfs, that's okay.
It is interesting though, because I feel like we've heard a lot of these subscription platforms and stuff have been, well, at least in streaming media, like movies and stuff, they're all not doing that great right now, or most of them. Like they're all, so I'm curious if there is some blowback to that. Sorry for a bit of a tangent, but it is interesting that there is that idea that maybe it's starting to catch on.
I think we're going to get herded in that direction because of the whole post-capitalism thing. But as long as the instrument isn't dependent on something that's proprietary, again, something that I have old manned about in the past.
Roland's drum machine, right? What is it? The V drum or whatever?
It was my V drums, yeah. Using proprietary drivers when they could just use open, standard ones. But if it is something like that, then you buy something, it remains that thing. I mean, there are people today using synths from the 70s. They cost a fortune, but they're still viable musical instruments with a lot to say for themselves. I do tend to hold back when it comes to software a bit because, again, it keeps happening that things get obsoleted before I'm finished with them, and I can't use them anymore because of system limitations or driver limitations, and it's usually more to do with software than hardware. So I don't know. I'm less inclined to spend a lot on software-based stuff, although, I mean, I would sit here like I usually do for half an hour picking splinters out of my bottom because I'm sitting on the fence again, and that's what I always do. But the truth of it is there are pros and cons to both, and you get so much more for your money with software. However, I think there's a real built-in shelf life, and 10 years from now you'll be using different software anyway. So it's not a buy it and have it forever. It's more like a really long-term lease or something of that nature.
You bring up an interesting point too, because when I bought my laptop that I was going to kind of move everything over from the desktop, I ran into iLock issues where you've already used it twice. That means you need to contact the manufacturer and make sure they're okay with you switching it to another computer, and if not, then you have to buy it again and get that. And there are issues like that. And then not to mention like with software, there's the obsolescence or whatever of the hardware you buy, like the computers you buy, right? Like Apple phases out things as they start adding, like a lot of the new things in Logic.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of the new things in Logic, like the stem splitter, and I think some of the session players they've added, you can't use on Intel Macs, and then you can't use on the non-M chip iPads and things like that. So that's probably more of a Mac thing than necessarily a Windows thing, because you can't upgrade internal, like you can't swap.
With Windows, you can often run into driver issues where they've not been updated, they've stopped supporting that, and the driver doesn't work with the new OS, that sort of thing. And the other thing I was going to say on the same point really is resale value. Something that is a thing and remains that thing without dependencies on a bunch of other software and things that change over time, retains its value more. I mean, you can sell an old instrument and get a lot of money back if it's valuable, whereas software, it's kind of, you don't tend to resell software very often, do you?
No, not at all. Not at all.
And
even more so, like you say, it's going around to these pay monthly subscriptions as opposed to buying them. So, you know, you don't even own the software in its own right, let alone owning it to sell it on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Where are you sitting with this, Sam Whopper?
I don't know. I've been trying to think. I mean, I figured Eonlake was going to say hardware, so I didn't want to repeat it. I do think you need to put your money towards whatever you're inclined to use most, right? Like if you're Mike or someone of Mike's ilk or whatever, you know, that wants to do a lot with software and things like that, it would make sense. Like like getting good software, not necessarily plugins, but you know, like a DAW or things like that, putting your money into that makes total sense. If you want hardware, then yeah, getting really good hardware, not necessarily the cheaper ones that are prone to breaking and stuff, but maybe getting less and getting something that's like a powerhouse or whatever. But I would say something slightly different with thinking about cables and the extra type of stuff. I mean, you don't have to get you don't necessarily have to get the best cables or whatever, but make sure you get things that are good. Like I typically used to buy like those Amazon Basics 1/4-inch cables, and they crap out like pretty quickly and stuff, you know. Or like I got for NAMM, I needed something really quick, so I got some really cheap what is it, the TRS or the aux type cable, and all of my audio had like some bit crush distortion on it because it was just some cheap cable, because I just needed something the same day, and I was like, okay, Amazon, like just give me something, you know. So I think it is good to think about audio quality with whatever gear you're using, software, hardware. So getting good things. If you're using software, a good audio interface, good speakers, headphones, whatever have you, you know, things like that can make a lot of difference.
Yeah. I mean, that makes
things that stay, things that you'll continue to benefit from. Good monitoring is probably
exactly. Because I mean, like I was saying, a lot of things you do have to keep changing, right? Or at least changing every 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And but you can also, if you are in the software realm, look for things that have typically not done the subscription thing or have long update shelf lives, like something like Logic, where you could have bought Logic. I bought it in 2012 and I got updates for free every year or whenever they would release them. And then they made this massive update, 2 years ago? And then this year, all of it's free. I never had to buy it again. And it was like $200 or $300. So you can look for that type of software that does those sorts of things. So yeah.
It's a good point. Definitely focusing on the things that you are going to use consistently, regardless of what kind of sound you're using, be that say vocals or guitar or synthesizer or whatever. Having that kind of like overarching ideas of, it's a very good point.
Yeah. Unless you're going for that really lo-fi sound, then go cheap and have fun. But
I suppose if you make music for a living, and software and so on, the libraries that you might need help you do your job better or produce music quicker or whatever, and there's a convenience factor to that, then it's probably worth dropping extra money on software because you make money from it. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to introducing hardware that is just going to slow you down. So it's there is a horses for courses thing, and if you actually make money from music, if you're one of those people, it might actually turn things on its head for you.
Unless the type of music you make is hardware based. But one thing I remember, some composer I was watching on YouTube or something had mentioned, they almost always they have a ton of gear, right? But when it comes to the music they make for things they're hired for, you know, for composing, they do all MIDI, or at least mostly MIDI, because typically they get revisions back. Hey, we chopped 20 seconds or 5 seconds. We need to change it. It's like, well, I had a 4-bar, 4-bar loop. Now I have to make it like 3.5. I can't just chop the audio. You know, you could, but it won't make sense now. So they just go in and change the MIDI, and then boom. Now you could always print those things in the end, send it through hardware. But yeah, that's a whole other extra bit. So yeah.
It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Curtis, what about you? We got a couple minutes left, but I want to hear your take.
I think there's something to be said for decent audio in terms of like a decent set of headphones, or decent treatment, something where you can trust. I suppose I'm coming from a space of trust. So the way you can trust the sound that's in the room. Yes, there's always about knowing your room and knowing where your bass traps are and knowing where your resonant frequencies will be in your particular room. That's totally fine. But I think there's a certain amount of security in mitigating that through sound treatment. I think that's tried and tested, and I think that's fair. But one thing as well, potentially that's kind of nubbed it for me is again a decent audio interface or a decent mixer, or both. In my case, I've got the Tascam 12, and I think it might have been the best purchase I've made for the studio ever. I think
wow.
Regardless of whether I'm in the box or whether I'm out of the box, I can trust it, and it's clean. The connections are clean. They're metal, so they're not going to decay over time. They're not going to get as dusty, and that's everything is protected to a degree where it will maintain its quality in that regard. It's not going to degrade. Connections inside cheap mixers, for example, do tend to decay over time, and they do tend to get dusty and beaten up and crapped out, and therefore your signal becomes, in a similar vein to a cheap cable, your signal becomes dirty, and that might be something that you're going for, but I know that I plug something into the Tascam and it's going to work, and it's going to have a clear sound, and any degradation of sound is either coming from my playing or the effects I put behind it. Mostly my playing, to be fair.
Is that the Model 12? I know you've said it before.
Yeah, I've got the Model 12.
Yeah, I'm just looking it up. Yeah, that's really cool.
It's a beautiful piece of gear. And I think, again, it kind of straddles that general usage, right? So like, it's not just going to be a synthesizer or a piece of hardware or a MIDI keyboard that you're going to use for one specific thing. It's going to transcend all of that in that regard, which ticks that box, but also it's relatively high quality. I do think I've been studying it. I've been doing tests with like plastic and with metal and with different devices, and metal obviously wins every single time, but there's also a
getting all scientific.
It just works. And you plug in a balanced XLR cable, it slots in, it doesn't wiggle, it's there, you can have trust in it. And the worst thing you want when you're in a flow state is to be held up or have that little niggling thing in the back of your brain where where you're thinking about where's that noise coming from, where's that grit coming from. You want to have trust in your workflow.
No, totally definitely. I mean, like I was saying at NAMM, I had that problem because afterwards I'm like, oh my, all the audio that I got, and you can't just like redo it, right? The NAMM was over, it was done, so I was like, oh my. So I mean, I had to just get it done, and I made it work. I used some, I think it was RX or whatever to fix it and all that type of stuff. But it's like, then you have to do things in post that waste time. Whereas if you can just have it like you're saying, Curtis, where it's going to work, or at least 90%, 95% going to work, there's always some possibility or room for error. But yeah. So we got to go, but I just want to read this. Sleeping State says, good monitors are top of the list. I agree. Good monitors, headphones, whatever have you. But yeah, I would say like the things that allow you to make music, like, yes, hardware, software, whatever, that's perfect. But then you need to think, you need stuff to be able to mix it, do all that sort of thing. So yeah, getting good things like that and good cables, all that sorts, definitely top of the list, in my opinion. All right, gentlemen, we are about out of time. Eonlake, is there anything else you want to discuss or anything you're up to besides doing your live set, not stream?
I'm always writing new stuff as well, but
nice.
I can do both at the same time now.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the way forward.
Curtis, what about you?
I got my gig this weekend, so I'm going to be prepping for that. And I got an art exhibition, so I'm going to get funky with some lights. I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be good. How about yourself, brother?
I've got a live set I filmed for YouTube coming out Saturday. That one was a lot of fun. I've been trying to figure out rearranging my videos and stuff like that. So that's that. And then checking out some new gear that I'll be talking about soon. Something I'm actually really impressed with this one. So we'll talk about it soon. And then I need to get back to the synth, Poly and synth, because we need to cover it on the show. We kept having to move it and push it back, but I believe it just got an update that eased up some of the CPU usage, which was always my biggest gripe with it. Is like when you start using more complex 3 synths at once, you just have a message on top, CPU almost max. You're like, come on. So I don't know if it's a beta or if it's out, but there's a firmware for it that it like lessens whatever inactive effects you're not using. It like takes those away, bypasses them or whatever. And so I guess it lowers the CPU load. So I'm interested to check that out. But if you have any questions about the synth, the tracker, let us know, and then we'll cover it when we get to cover those soon.
Sounds good. We will be back next week. In the meantime, patrons, we'll see you Sunday, 6 p.m. UTC, which is still 10 a.m. Pacific.
11, right? 11.
We
meet at 10. Yeah, I said 10 earlier too because we're meeting at 10, but yeah, it's 11.
Yeah, we're meeting at 10. So there's that. And head over to our Bandcamp, audionauticrecords.bandcamp.com to check out Fields of View's new EP, LP even. Great collection.
Yeah, it's really good.
Fantastic journey.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we will see you next week. Thanks for watching.